Hello everyone, welcome to my podcast. This is Miss Sona. Today I'll be discussing the concept of the image of child in early childhood education and how the way educators view children shapes their teaching practices and learning environments. The image of the child is a central idea in early childhood education and reflects how educators view children childhood and learning. The image of the child refers to the beliefs, assumptions, and expectations individuals have about children's abilities, development, and their role in education and society. These beliefs strongly impact how educators interact with children, the expectations they set, the learning environment they create. In contemporary early education, children are increasingly viewed as capable, competent, and active participants in their own learning. According to Early Years Learning Framework, children are confident and involved learners who actively explore their learning and developmental capabilities. For example, in a preschool room, if a child is interested in building tower with blocks, an educator who sees child as capable may encourage the child to experiment and ask questions like, how can we make this tower more stronger? This allows the child to be actively participate in learning rather than simply following the instructions. The understanding of childhood has changed over time and continues to be influenced by social, cultural, and historical contexts. This podcast will analyze contemporary views of children, reflect on my own image of the child, and discuss how my childhood experience influenced my pedagogical practice. Now let's understand the image of the child. The image of the child relates to the beliefs educators hold about children's potential, motivation, and roles in learning and society. Malaguzzi describes this internal image of the child as the lens through which educators engage and connect with children. This internal image influences many aspects of educational practices, including how educators respond to behavior and the learning experience they create. Because these beliefs influence pedagogical decisions, educators must critically reflect on how their image of the child and consider how their experiences and cultural background shape these perspectives. Now let's have a look at historical perspectives of childhood. Several historical thinkers have influenced how we understand childhood today. John Locke described children as tabula rasa, meaning children are born with a blank mind and learn through the experiences. This perspective highlights the importance of the environment in children's development. Jean-Jacques Rousseau believed children are naturally good and should learn through experiences in nature rather than the rigid societal control. And Friedrich Froebel later developed these ideas and created the concept of kindergarten, which he described as a garden for children. He believed that play supports children's creativity and development. For instance, when the children is engaging in activities like building, drawing, or role-playing in dramatic play areas, they are also developing problem-solving skills, creativity, and social understanding. These ideas laid the foundation for modern child-centered and play-based learning approaches. Modern childhood education views children as competent learners who actively construct knowledge through relationships and experiences. The Early Years Learning Framework emphasizes the concept of belonging, being, becoming, recognizing that children have the right to participate actively in their learning. Similarly, the Reggio Emilia approach describes the child as rich in potential, strong, and competent. In this approach, children are seen as co-constructors of knowledge who learn through exploration, communication, and collaboration. For example, if a child is interested in plants while playing outside, an educator may extend this interest by helping him plant seeds and observe how they grow. Children might draw the plants, measure their heights, or discuss what plants need to survive. Through this process, children are actively constructing knowledge rather than simply receiving information. This perspective challenges traditional deficit views of children and focus on children's strengths and capabilities. Now let's have a look at social construction of childhood. Although contemporary approaches recognize children as capable learners, childhood is still socially constructed in different ways. Woodrow identifies three dominant constructions of childhood. The first is the innocent child, where children are viewed as vulnerable and needing protection. While this view promotes care and nurturing, it can also limit children's independence. The second is child as a threat, where children are seen as problematic and behavior management focuses on control and discipline. The third is the child as an embryo adult, where childhood is viewed mainly as a preparation for adulthood rather than valuing children's current experiences. For example, if a child asks many questions during the group time, some educator might see this as a disruptive behavior. However, from a contemporary perspective, this curiosity can be viewed as a sign of active engagement in learning. Reflecting on these constructions allowed educators to question how social beliefs influence the expectations of children. Now, let's have a look on reflection on my image of the child. My image of the child aligns with contemporary perspectives where children are recognized as capable, curious, and active learners. I believe children explore their environment and learn through relationships, play, and experiences. Children are not passive receivers of information, but active participants who construct their own understanding of the world. For example, during a puzzle activity in early childhood setting, I observed a child helping another child with a puzzle. The child explained where the certain pieces might fit and encouraged the other child to try again. These interactions showed how children support each other's learning and collaborate. However, reflecting on my beliefs also make me aware that traditional expectation sometimes influences teaching practices. In some settings, children may be expected to follow certain strict rules or instruction, which reflects the embryo adult perspective. Critical reflection helps educators question these assumptions and create learning environment that support children's agency. Now let's have a look and reflection on my childhood experiences. My belief about children have been shaped by my childhood experiences and cultural background. I grew up in Nepal in a Hindu cultural environment where respect for elders, family values, and community relationships were highly valued. In school, there was a very strong focus on discipline, and children were expected to follow directions carefully. However, outside school, I had many opportunities to play with my friends, explore the nature, and learn through everyday experiences in my community. These experiences helped me understand that learning happens not only through formal instruction but also through play, interaction, and exploration. My cultural background also taught me the importance of respect, patience, and kindness, which are values I bring into my interactions with children and family in early childhood settings. Now let's have a look on influence and pedagogical practices. The image of the child strongly influences pedagogical practices. Educators who view children as capable learners are more likely to create environments that support exploration, creativity, and collaboration. For example, educators may provide open-ended materials such as blocks, art materials, natural objects that allow children to explore their ideas freely. They may also follow children's interest when planning learning experiences. Play-based learning reflects Froebel's belief that play helps children explore ideas and develop understanding. Critical reflection is also an important part of pedagogical practice. The EYLF highlights critical reflection and ongoing professional learning as key components of quality early childhood education. Through reflection, educators can evaluate their teaching strategies and improve learning environments to better support children's development and well-being. In conclusion, the image of the child is central to educators' beliefs and pedagogical practice. Contemporary practice highlights that children are competent and active learners who participate meaningfully in their own learning. Reflective on my personal experiences, cultural backgrounds, and professional knowledge allows educators and me to examine my own assumption about children and develop more inclusive teaching practices. Understanding the image of the child ultimately help all of the educators to create learning environment that support children's well-being, participants, and development. Thank you for listening to my podcast.